All right, let's dive into vision language models, or VLMs. I know, it sounds a little dry, but trust me, what we're talking about today is anything but. We're talking about AI that can understand, like, both images, A and D text. Like, imagine a student who can ace their art project A and D, write an award-winning essay. That's what we're dealing with here.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating is how these VLMs are trained. They're trained on these, massive data sets, almost like digital textbooks, but way more dynamic. And actually, that's what this deep dive is all about, a brand new kind of data set that's really kind of shaking things up in the AI world.
Okay, so our sources point out a big problem with how VLMs are usually trained. It's the data sets themselves, right?
Yeah.
They're a bit of a mess.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine trying to learn a language, but the dictionary you're using. Well, someone just randomly pasted pictures into it. You might pick up a few words here and there, but you're not going to really grasp the grammar or how to tell a story.
No, we're not going to get any Shakespearean sonnets from these VLMs then.
Not likely, no. And the problem goes even deeper than that. I mean, learning is all about making connections, right? Starting with the basics and then building up to more complex ideas. But these traditional data sets, they just throw all these random images and text at the VLMs. There's no real logic to it, no flow.
Yeah, like trying to learn geometry from a website that's just pop-up ads and flashing banners all over the place. You never even make it past, Pythagoras.
Exactly. And that's where this new research comes in. They've created this special data set, a multimodal textbook, they call it. It's designed to fix all these issues. Think of it like a really well-organized digital library, but built from a crazy amount of instructional videos, something like 22,000 hours. That's like 2.5 years of nonstop lectures, basically.
Oh, that's some serious binge watching. But it's not just the quantity, right? It's the quality and how organized the information is.
Absolutely. This data set, it covers 6 core subjects: math, physics, chemistry, earth science, engineering, and computer science. Like a condensed university education in a digital format.
So how'd they actually build this textbook? Did they just download a bunch of Khan Academy videos or something?
No, it was way more complicated than that. It was a whole multi-step process, lots of AI tricks involved. First, they created what they call an LLM-powered knowledge taxonomy. Imagine a super detailed syllabus. It outlines all the subjects, the courses, the specific knowledge points they wanted to cover.
A curriculum for a robot university, basically. But where did they even get 22,000 hours worth of good educational videos?
They started with YouTube, but they didn't just grab any random video. They used their fancy AI taxonomy to sort through everything, find the most relevant, the highest quality videos out there.
That would save me a ton of time back in college.
Yeah.
But even with the best videos, how do you turn those into something a VLM can understand? It's not like they can just sit in a lecture hall and take notes.
Right, and that's where their video to textbook pipeline comes in. Picture the AI watching a physics lecture. It can extract the key equations from the board and summarize what the instructor's saying. They even used OCR, optical character recognition, to pull text and formulas right from the video frames.
So it's like those students who can write down everything the professor says without missing a beat. Pretty impressive.
And to top it off, they used multiple layers of filtering, getting rid of bad transcripts, unrelated video clips, even frames where things were obscured. It's like they had a team of super meticulous editors combing through everything.
Wow, talk about attention to detail. But why put so much effort into teaching AI? What's the big picture here?
That's a great question. And it's something we're going to explore a lot more in this deep dive. This research isn't just about building smarter AI. It's about understanding the very nature of learning itself and how we can maybe use these insights to, completely transform how we teach and learn.
Okay, now things are getting really interesting. But we've covered a lot of ground already, and I think our listeners could use a little break. We'll be back in part 2 to dig deeper into the results of all this and see what it all means for the future of AI.
Welcome back. So, we talked about this multimodal textbook being built from all these educational videos. Well, what's really interesting is the kind of visuals they used. It wasn't all just, static slides and talking heads.
Oh, so they actually, made it engaging. I have to admit, I zone out during those boring online lectures sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. They used everything, like lecture recordings, animated demos, even real-world footage. It's kind of like how we learn, right? We don't just learn from reading. We observe things, experiment, see how concepts work in different situations.
So by giving the VLMs all these different visuals, they're getting a more well-rounded education.
Exactly. Plus, there's the sheer amount of data. 22,000 hours of videos, remember? That's like having someone attend university lectures nonstop for over 2.5 years.
Okay, I definitely don't have that kind of attention span. But it's not just about stuffing information into the AI,
You
right?
got it. It's also about quality. The researchers were super careful about making sure the data was good, high quality.
Right, they have that whole filtering system, like a team of digital fact checkers.
Exactly. They used AI and human evaluation to get rid of any videos that were, bad quality, irrelevant, or just plain wrong. They even had to merge audio transcripts that were broken up to make the explanations make sense. It was a huge project.
I'm starting to see why this research is such a big deal. It's not just the tech, it's the thought and care that went into making a really good learning experience, even for AI. But okay, let's talk results. What about that cheat test we mentioned? What was that all about?
Right. So remember how we said VLMs need to go beyond just memorizing stuff? The cheat test was designed to see if they could actually understand what they were being asked. Like, could they avoid being tricked by bad information?
So it was testing their critical thinking skills, basically?
Exactly. And what they found was really interesting. The VLMs trained on this multimodal textbook. Well, they were much better at recognizing when a question was trying to mislead them. They weren't just spitting out memorized answers, they were showing a deeper level of understanding.
That's really impressive. It sounds like they're actually starting to learn how to think for themselves. Did they also do something where they mess with the order of the information?
Yeah, they did an experiment where they shuffled all the images in the textbook just to see what would happen.
I'm guessing it didn't go very well. Like trying to read a textbook with all the pages out of order.
Pretty much. The results were super clear. When the information was presented randomly, the VLMs did way worse, especially the ones trained on that structured, multimodal textbook. It just shows how important it is to present knowledge in a logical way.
Yeah, it's like how we learn, right? We build on what we already know. So this research is really pushing the limits of AI, but I can also see how it could change the way we humans learn too.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point, and it's something we'll be talking more about in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, I can't wait. But I think that's a good place to stop for now. Give our listeners some time to process all this. We'll be back in part 3 to explore how we can actually use this tech and what it all means for the future. All right, welcome back to the final part of our deep dive, all about VLMs. We've seen how they're being trained on this, like revolutionary new data set, and how this is really pushing the limits of what AI can do.
Yeah, and it's not just about making AI smarter for the sake of it. This tech could, actually impact our lives in a ton of ways.
Okay, so let's get practical. How would these VLMs work in, like, the real world?
Well, imagine a world where someone who, say, can't see well, they can navigate their surroundings using a device with a VLM. The VLM could, analyze images in real time, give them audio descriptions of what's around them. Things like grocery shopping or getting around would be so much easier.
That's incredible, like giving them a whole new way to experience the world. What about other fields, like healthcare, for example?
Oh, definitely. VLMs could be huge for medical diagnosis. They could analyze medical images, x-rays, scans, and help doctors spot things a human might miss.
So it's like a second pair of eyes, but way more powerful.
Exactly. And because they can understand both images and text, they could connect those images with the patient's history, research papers. Doctors would have a much more complete picture.
Wow, that could completely change how we approach personalized medicine. But it sounds like VLMs could go beyond just analyzing things, right? Could we use them to create like a super smart virtual assistant?
Absolutely. Imagine a virtual assistant that doesn't just hear your commands, but it actually sees what you're doing through your camera. So let's say you're cooking, right, and need help with a step. The VLM assistant could see the ingredients, your tools, even how your dish is coming along. It could give you real-time advice specific to that moment.
Okay, that's taking smart homes to a whole new level. It sounds like we're talking about a future where AI is just, like, everywhere. But with all this potential, are there any downsides? Anything we should be worried about?
You're right. That's a super important point. Any technology this powerful, there's always some risk. One big thing is data security. These VLMs need tons of data to work, so we have to make sure that data is protected and used responsibly.
Yeah, like building in ethical guidelines right from the start.
Exactly. And we also have to watch out for misuse. As VLMs get smarter, we need to be really careful about how they're used, especially in areas like, surveillance or law enforcement. We need to have open discussions about the ethics of it all.
So it's not just about the tech itself, it's about how we choose to use it. This has been such a fascinating deep dive. I feel like we've only just begun to explore what VLMs can do.
Yeah, it's been great talking about all this with you. This research really does open up so many possibilities. It'll be really interesting to see where it all goes.
Definitely. And to all our listeners out there, keep exploring this stuff. Let's all keep the conversation about the future of AI going. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, keep those brains buzzing.